Oh man, it is Friday. Finally, Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. You can show your support and keep everything that we do going by pointing your browser to patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Happy Friday afternoon to everyone. Look at that. The great NATO is there. Marshall Nisbet is in the chat. The one J. Michael T. Nightbot is also here. Hello, Nightbot. Nightbot, can you tell me why, with your DJ system, that if I'm paying for a Monster Cat account that allows me to stream that Monster Cat music during my stream and before the stream and all that good stuff, and my Twitch channel and the YouTube channel are both white-listed channels approved to pay this stuff because I've paid my money, why do these videos keep getting muted? Just a question indeed. Maybe I'm not paying them enough money. And I want to talk about money today. Oh, look at all the awesome people in. Hey, real quick, before we get started. A couple of new movies out on the scene. These were sent to me today from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. The first one is Justice League Dark, The Apocalypse War. This is the final movie in the new 52 DC animated universe, or whatever it is. The one that the movies have all been tied together. This features John Constantine and a bunch of heroes, including Raven, going after Darkseid and trying to free the planet and all their superhero friends from the clutches of Apocalypse. I kind of talked about it before if you're a member of the patreon.com/Major Spoilers pre-show. I think the key word here is dark. Okay? Lots of violence, lots of language. I did like the Adam Strange short that is in here. But they did send that to me today. I've already seen the movie. It came out on digital a couple of weeks ago. If you want to watch it, that's fine. It's really cool. You can pick it up by using the link, the Amazon link, over at majorspoilers.com. It is rated R, so not for kids. The other one that is common, I also talked about this. This came out a few weeks ago. It is Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge. Now, if you are a fan of Mortal Kombat, the video game, and you know all about the backstory of Scorpion and Sub-Zero and everything that goes on there, then you'll probably will enjoy this movie. Okay, also rated R, also from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, but from Warner Brothers Animation. Pretty violent, but not bad. To me, it feels like a rehash of the very first Mortal Kombat movie, but with the Scorpion part of the story tagged in there. But this is also out. So I wanted to give these both a mention since Warner Brothers continues to send these to me. I appreciate them. I have a whole stack of these movies. I probably, on Fridays, this is what I'm going to do. Going forward, starting next Friday, or the next Friday that we're on, I'm going to start giving some of these away. U.S. residents only. But I'm going to start giving a bunch of these away. I've got probably years of these stacked up. So we'll start doing that next Friday. Remind me next Friday to give these away. So what's going on with everybody? Yeah, giveaways. Also, I've got a, probably not this weekend since it's a holiday weekend, but not this Saturday, so the Saturday following, whatever that first weekend in June is. Give away a copy of Animal Crossings as well for the Switch. For anybody who wants a copy, we're going to give that away during our Saturday game streams. Those happen at 3 o'clock p.m. Central Time. I ended up with just one extra copy of this thing. everybody has a copy that needs a copy here in the house. And so we'll give away a copy of Animal Crossing. Well, if you have, Marshall says, I still don't have that game. Well, if you have a Switch, then you will want to be listening and paying attention 2 Saturdays from now, because there's a secret way in which we're going to give this away. Sorry, it's allergy season. And I also lit a bit of incense earlier for reasons. And so it's bothering my nose. If you're one of those people listening over there in the Discord channel, hello. What do we got over there? Omega Lastris is there. Pleasant Doom is there. I hope you guys are having a great Friday. Okay, we should be 5 minutes past the point where Twitch is muting the audio because of that Monster Cat stuff. I don't understand. Let's talk about the news that has everybody all up in a tizzy, one way or another. And that is something that a vocal group of people have been advocating for the last couple of years. Release the Snyder Cut. Warner Brothers announced that, is it Warner Brothers, HBO, AT&T, it's all the same thing. Warner Brothers announced that it will indeed release the Snyder Cut sometime in 2021, exclusively on the HBO Max service. Now, for those of you that don't know the story behind this, it started after principal photography for the Justice League movie wrapped back in like 2016 or something like that. We reported on it over at Majorspoilers.com. Zack Snyder had to step away because there was a death in the family. His daughter died. And he didn't feel like he could continue with the post-production process of the film. He and his wife were going through this is, a legitimate difficulty to have, a child die and then still have to go to work. And he didn't think he could commit to it. So he suggested that Warner Brothers hire Joss Whedon, of course, from Avengers fame and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and many other newsworthy items, I'm sure. He came in and said, well, I don't like the way this story is going. I want to go in and I want to reshoot a bunch of stuff. And they did. And they trimmed it down to like 2 hours or whatever the final run length of that was. And they released it into the theaters. And the Justice League movie was not hailed as a huge success by many people. Some people really liked the movie. Some people thought it was fine. Some people really hated the movie. But almost immediately, people realized that, oh, wait a minute, this isn't the version of the film that Zack Snyder wanted to release. And so they started this campaign, hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. They rented out billboards in New York's Times Square. They bought bus station signs at San Diego Comic-Con. Everywhere you turned, you would see Release the Snyder Cut anytime the Justice League movie was being brought up. And this went on and went on and went on and went on, and people were saying, hey, are they ever going to release it? I think at Major Spoilers we said no. They probably wouldn't release it unless they had a reason to, and that reason being HBO Max. HBO Max launches next week, the 27th of May. And to be honest, I think a lot of people don't know what HBO Max is. There was a lively discussion in the Major Spoilers Discord movie channel last night, where this person just wasn't informed, where they said, HBO Max, nobody wants to buy a service that has a constantly rotating selection of movies. And I had to say, no, that's not what HBO Max is. HBO Max is not HBO Go. HBO Go is going away. HBO Now is going away. HBO Max is essentially Disney Plus. 18,000 movies. Now, that's not what they're going to launch with, but 18,000 movies eventually. All of the HBO original programming, all of the movies that Warner Brothers has ever done, as well as they paid a lot of money so that they could get Friends, exclusive rights to Friends, Rick and Morty, The Big Bang Theory, and I forget what else. All going over onto HBO Max. But apparently people weren't paying attention to HBO Max. Maybe the numbers are down or whatever. But finally, Warner Brothers said, you know what? Let's release the Snyder Cut. Release the Kraken. And a lot of people are very upset about this. A lot of people were saying, what version of this movie are we going to get? Are we going to get, because Zack Snyder had tweeted, a couple of while ago, that the theatrical release only had about a quarter of what he intended to be in the movie. And one of the first cuts of the movie was over 4 hours long. Usually first cuts are really, really long because the first cut of any film, you just put everything in there. And many people don't realize that. You put everything in there, every take, every bit, every scene, and then you start whittling it down. So that means there could be a 4-hour release of the movie. Also, the Snyder Cut, in its form as it was, this mysterious Snyder Cut, didn't have any of the special effects completed. So a lot of green screen, a lot of unfinished stuff, a lot of scratch track stuff. No special effect, sound effects or music added in. And so is that the version we're going to get? A half-finished movie? Is that the Snyder Cut that people want to see? Is Warner Brothers going to pay to have all that incomplete stuff finished? If they do, that's going to cost them quite a bit. Estimates are anywhere between $20 and $30 million, which I'll talk about that in a moment. The other thing is, are they going to release it as one film? Or, as other rumors have it, and again, it's hearsay, rumors, whatever, are they going to break up the movie into chapters? 4 to 6 chapters. Very much like what I think Netflix did for Hateful Eight. Is it a Hateful Eight? It's the Western one. Where they chop it up into chapters, which I really hated. Couldn't stand it that they did that. But hey, at least everybody's happy now, right? Well, maybe not, because a lot of people are saying, well, why do this? Why are we doing this? And I got to tell you, there's only one reason why Warner Brothers is doing this. The fat stacks of cash that are going to come their way. That's the only reason. Here's the thing. Now, I've got the Batman versus Superman director's cut. I've not watched it. I just don't have enough energy to sit through an extended version of that movie right now. Ever since it came out, I just haven't. So will I watch this? Probably not right away. I'm not going to be the person that's going to jump on board and sit down and want to watch a 4.5-hour movie if that's how long it is. Even if it's in 2 parts. But there's a lot of people that are like, why would Warner Brothers? They already lost money on this movie. Did they though? Because the original budget for this movie, or at least the budget that is reported officially, is $300 million, which is a lot of money. Worldwide, the movie made $657 million. Okay, so you might be thinking, oh, okay, so it made a $300 million profit. That doesn't seem too bad. Wait. There's also a little thing called printing and advertising costs that go in. And as a rough estimate, you guys can kind of use this anytime you go over to Box Office Mojo and you're looking at a production cost of a movie. Printing and advertising generally is the same as the budget of the film. Generally. Not always, but generally. So if you see a budget of $200 million, they probably spent $200 million in printing and advertising. Did Warner Brothers spend $300 million for the advertising of the Justice League movie? I don't know. Nobody's going to know unless someone wants to open up a lawsuit and attempt to look at the books. But even that is very rare that we ever get to see the accounting of those movies. We got to see the accounting for the first Thor movie, one of the Spider-Man movies, and Empire Strikes Back. And I know what you're thinking, Empire Strikes Back fans, because I know you're out there. That movie must be in the black. No, because of creative accounting, which we've talked about before on this show. Empire Strikes Back, a movie which is, 30 years old this week, has not made a single penny. It is still in the red. So let's just say that printing and advertising was $300 million. That still left Warner Brothers with $50 million to spare, which is not a lot of money, which is not a lot of profit, which is what you want from your movies. So how do you drum up business? Well, you could release a director's cut. There have been some movies that have been better because of a director's cut. I've said for years that the Daredevil movie, if you want to watch a Daredevil movie, the Ben Affleck one, watch it with the director's cut because it is a lot more coherent and makes a lot more sense than the theatrical release. Some people like the director's cut of Brazil. Some people like the director's cut, one of whichever director's cut you want of Blade Runner. And some people say that makes the movie better. It's a matter of taste. Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, that movie could probably be a lot better. So there are some reasons to go and want to release a director's cut. The big thing is, hey, here's the stuff that you never got to see before. Here's the actual director's vision of the film. All you have to do is give us some money to do it. And in this case, if Warner Brothers has to pay $20 million to get the film finished, if they even are going to do it, we don't know. I ran some numbers. $20 million. If every one of Zack Snyder's followers, 754,000 of them, signed up for the service, they would have their costs covered for the update of that film or the completion of the Snyder Cut in 1 month. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's be a little bit more realistic. How many people will it take signing up to the HBO Max service for an entire year, 12 months? How many will it take to just break even? And that number might surprise you. That number is only, and again, $15 a month times 12 months, divided by 20 million, divide that into 20 million. That's only 112,000 people that need to sign up for the service over the course of the year. Or if there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to come in, watch the movie, and cut and run after the first month, you only need 1.3 million people to get on board. And I know, for some people, 1.3 million is a huge number. But Disney Plus, at this point, already has over 50 million people. Even if Warner Brothers HBO Max, which again, Game of Thrones, Westworld, every Warner Brothers movie ever, Friends, etc. Even if only half of that Disney Plus number show up, Warner Brothers is making bank. And my guess is this $20 million is not going to go on to the production cost of the Justice League movie. It is going to go on to the advertising cost of this movie, which we don't know what that is. We'll probably never see that. So, my guess is Warner Brothers is using this as a way to promote HBO Max to get people excited about this film because they think it's going to arrive next week, which it's not. It's going to arrive sometime in 2021. Again, not a firm date set anywhere. Sometime in 2021. Could be December of 2021. So, from my perspective, releasing the Snyder Cut as an HBO Max exclusive is brilliant. It is a way to get all of those people who have been released the Snyder Cut, those frothing at the mouth fans that have want this. It's a great way to get their money. It's a great way to get their money. And if they sign up this week and say, oh, yeah, this movie is not going to come out till 2021, I'm going to cancel and come back later. They already got your first month's worth of money. They probably already made the money that they need in the first month to pay for the rest of the film when you come back later and pay again. And that's one of the brilliant things that I don't think people ever think about. And it's really funny, right? How many times have you personally paid for the Star Wars movie? Or Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi, or Phantom Menace, or whatever? How many times have I paid for Star Wars? Let's count the ways, shall we? Paid for it for the initial ticket when I saw it as a kid. Paid for it with an initial ticket when I saw it again as a kid at the drive-in theater. Twice I paid to see Star Wars in the theater, the original New Hope in the theater. Okay? When it came out on VHS, I bought a VHS copy. I bought the collector's edition, the unedited. This is one of those that people I know want to get their hands on, box set of Star Wars. When it came out on DVD, I bought it on DVD. I paid for it again when it came out on Blu-ray, because who doesn't want a better look at the movie with all the special effects? I went and saw the George Lucas 20th anniversary thing in the 90s with all the Jabba the Hutts and all the stuff in there, so I paid for it again. Now we're up to 7 times I've paid to see Star Wars, and each time it seems like it's escalating in price. I paid again when it was on digital. And because it's now on the Disney Plus service, you could say that I've paid for it again on the Disney Plus service because that's where we've been watching Star Wars again with my youngest. So almost 10 times I have paid, just that I can count off of instant memory, 10 times that I have paid a ticket to see Star Wars. George Lucas, no dummy. Disney, no dummy. Warner Brothers, no dummy. Now, if Warner Brothers wanted to be a little smarter, Warner Brothers would have said, you know what? We're going to release the Snyder Cut. It's not going to come out in 2021. It's not, the plebes can have it in 2021 on the HBO Max service. However, if you are a true Zack Snyder Justice League release the Snyder Cut fan, here's what you need to do. Sign up for that year in advance. And you will have access to this movie 6 months ahead of the plebes. 6 months ahead of the Luddites. Go ahead, sign up for the full year, and you'll get this movie 6 months in advance of everyone else. Because if there's one thing that you can count on, and we've seen it play out in recent months, it's been 3 months already, we've seen it play out in recent months, that scarcity, exclusivity, and rarity commands a premium price. So when that toilet paper starts to look like it's running low, what do people do? They start going to the internet and charging $69 for it. It's because you get the toilet paper. Warner Brothers could have done this. They could have said, hey, pay for a full year. Pay $180 now for that first year of HBO Max. And in 6 months, you will get the Snyder Cut 6 months ahead of everyone else. Now I know, oh, what about the pirating? What about? Nobody cares. Warner Brothers already got that money. HBO is notorious for going out and bragging how many times Game of Thrones or Westworld or whatever the hot show of the moment is, how many times it's been pirated. They are happy with it. HBO could give a rat's behind whether you are sharing your HBO login or not, because they already got you locked in. If you want to unsubscribe, that's fine, but all those other people sharing your account, what about them? So you're going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. That's the one thing that HBO Max is missing in this whole thing, is how to get more out of the people who are the most vocal about wanting the Snyder Cut. And I know some of you are saying, oh, well, you know what? I could just wait an extra 6 months. No big deal. But can you? Can you wait those 6 months? Here's this thing that you've been begging for 2.5 years. You've been begging for the release of the Snyder Cut. Are you really going to wait an extra 6 months, or are you going to put your money where your mouth is and pony up the $180 so you could get that 6 months earlier? That's what Warner Brothers should have been saying the entire time when they made this announcement. HBO Max fans, here's your chance. DCU Justice League fans, here's your chance. How big of a fan are you? So, the bottom line in all of this, regardless of what you think about the Snyder Cut, is it's all about money. It's called show business. Warner Brothers is not in the business of making art. Warner Brothers is a corporation that is in charge of making money. Money for itself, money for its investors, money for the people that it's borrowed money from. That's what Warner Brothers is all about. They are a money-making entity, and there are a couple of ways that they can make money. Big blockbusters. It's called a tentpole film. It's called a tentpole film. We've talked about this before. This is a movie that you put a bunch of money into, $200 million for Titanic, Star Wars, whatever it may be. You put all this money in for this big budget, big spectacle movie, and you're hoping that that movie does so well at the box office that it makes you $1 billion. We spent $300 million. We made $1 billion. Wonder Woman, looking at you. Aquaman, I think, did Aquaman make $1 billion? Better look that up really quick before I say that. I'm pretty sure Wonder Woman made $1 billion. Box office, mojo.com. Let's look up Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 2017. It has made $821 million, so just shy of $1 billion. 821, that's still a lot more than Justice League at $657 million. Aquaman. Aquaman made over $1 billion worldwide. $1.148 billion. And don't discount I know a lot of people like to discount international markets. International market is bigger than the United States market, by far. This is one of those things where we need to get over our attitude of superiority above all other countries, because all the other countries are putting a lot of money behind American entertainment. Ted Cruz went off on this past week. You can go look that up. But so the idea is, hey, we are Warner Brothers. We're going to put out this film, Aquaman, and it's going to make $1 billion worldwide on a $300 million budget. Let me see if I can find the budget for this. Doesn't list a budget on this. Let's say $300 million. And with all of that extra money, that's $600 million extra, we can go out and fund other tentpole films. Or what a tentpole film really does is it supports the whole structure of the studio, much like a tentpole in a big circus, so that you can then, instead of spending $200 million on 3 more films, you can then go out and spend $100 million on this film, $60 million on this film, $20 million on this film. And so you can support a lot of smaller movies that wouldn't make it up on their own. And then maybe on those little $10 million, $20 million, $30 million, $50 million projects, that's where you can indulge some of your favorite directors, the directors that have shown up and shown some promise. Let's indulge you and give you a chance to do a vanity project where you make art, right? I know every director is out there saying, I'm in it for the art. I'm in it for the story. That's great. You should be. Everybody, every actor, every crew member should be making art. Problem is, the studio is in it for the money. And if the studio is going to back your project, they need to see that it's going to be a moneymaker first. And so, yes, you can indulge the arts in film, but first it better be something that people will want to spend, especially if you're asking us to front $300 million for your film. Or, depending on how this all plays out, $600 million plus. Malone says that he has seen Star Wars A New Hope at least 10 times. Paid for it at least 10 times. What, Aquaman over $1 billion but not Wonder Woman? That's according to Box Office Mojo. $1.148 billion. Wonder Woman sitting at $821 million worldwide. Let's go through some of the comments because we're at the next turning point in the Zack Snyder discussion. I've paid exactly 0 times for Star Wars movies before Clone Wars. Sounds crazy but true. Well, you could be young. I don't know anything about HBO Max before this whole kerfuffle about Snyder Cut. So from a PR standpoint, it worked. There you go. And if you now suddenly realize, oh, Friends went off of the Netflix service or wherever it was at, where can I go watch Friends? Oh, you can go see it at HBO Max. Oh, I didn't know that. Let me go sign up now. Clickety, clickety, clack. $15 a month, pal. Although I think it's, $11.99 or something right now if you sign up now. I still haven't signed up. So, let's see. When VHSs were like $40, yes. The Star Wars Collector's VHS set that I bought, New Hope, Empire, Return, was like $80, I think, for that. I still have it. And that was in 93, 94. No, yeah, 93, 94, something like that. And it's, it's the original theatrical release. I try to run it maybe once every 4 or 5 years because I don't want to wear down the magnetic particles on the tape. Because it's like one of the few places in existence where you can see the unedited version of the film. Star Wars is, the re-releases are all director's cuts. George went in and tweaked things. Hey, let's have Greedo shoot first. Let's go back and have him scream McCulkey. Those are all director's cuts things. One or 2 movies for the studio, then you could maybe do one movie you want to make. That is literally Cynics 1210. That's exactly how it works. You get to go out and you get to do a movie that the studio hires you to do, And then you get to go do a vanity project. You get to go do something that you are interested in. And the studio will release it. Because hopefully by the time you get to that third movie or that fourth movie for the studio, you've made them enough that they could say, well, yeah, even if this movie doesn't do any good, we should still break even because people are going to come in based on the director. And go look at some of your favorite directors. Go look at the smaller films that they have done. Taika Waititi, for example, with Jojo Rabbit. There is no way in heck that movie would have been made with studio money had he not already made them $1 billion with Thor and all the other projects that he's done. Okay? There are some exceptions to that, Peter Jackson being one with The Lord of the Rings. Some people will say that the Lord of the Rings director's cuts and the extended cuts are better than the theatrical releases. I might agree with you there. So if all of this makes monetary sense, why are people still inflamed about the announcement of the Snyder Cut? And it has to go back to the idea that art is created in a vacuum. As an artist, you should be free to create. This is why we see Lord Miller leaving Solo. This is why we see people fired off projects over creative differences. Edgar Wright with Ant-Man, for example. Artists should be able to create in that vacuum. They should have the approval along the way, but then once that approval is given and it's greenlit and it's a go and the movie is being put together, the artist needs to create without outside undue influence in the form of who the movie is for. You know, Ant-Man, Justice League, they're not movies for the studio, okay? Those are things that are for us, the consumers. And so you should be allowed to create and release your product without undue influence from the people that you're creating for. You go back to the early days, as the Renaissance period, where we had the Medicis and we had all these super rich people all throughout Europe who were just making insane amounts of money. And they knew that, hey, you know what would be a good idea is we just come out of the Dark Ages. Everything is awful and crappy and dark and dank. We got to beautify this place. Let's slap a coat of paint on. Let's get some pictures made of ourselves and our mistresses and our wives and family members. Let's have some statues commissioned to clean up these gardens a little bit. Who do we know that we could hire to do all this stuff? Oh, these paintings over there. Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, the other turtle. Let's pay them to make art. And we're not going to talk about the art. We're not going to critique their art until it's done. So Michelangelo would go and he'd paint, draw, and then turn this stuff over to the people that are his patrons. And they would say, oh, yes, Michelangelo, very good. Please make us some more. We will continue to pay your fee. But they wouldn't come in and say, Michelangelo, the penis there is maybe too much big, make it smaller. Or maybe too small, make it bigger. They didn't do that. They waited till the piece was complete, and then they commented on it. What happens with the Snyder Cut, what happens with the Rose Tico haters, is that, unfortunately, we have been told as consumers that the consumer is always right. If the consumer likes pepperoni pizza, then by God, give them pepperoni pizza. That's fine for a commodity, like a shirt, or a pair of shoes, or a pizza, or your favorite bread, or soda pop. Yeah, I said soda pop. And so we've got it ingrained in our mind over many generations. You can go online and look at all the insane videos from people who think that they're entitled to whatever they want. That works for consumer goods and services. I don't like how you fixed my roof. I'm not going to recommend you to other people. That doesn't work that way for art. And unfortunately, the Snyder Cut kind of does set up a bad precedent. Now, I'm not saying that the people who are advocating for the Snyder Cut are toxic individuals. I don't want to talk about, this is a toxic fandom gone wild. No, because we've seen the quote-unquote vocal minority, and we don't even know if this is a vocal minority. We don't know how many people are behind the Snyder Cut movement. It could be the vocal majority. We don't know. But the problem is, once this goes out, now the fans, the customer, thinks that they can demand from the studio what they want. And that may feel very empowering, right? I mean, we're supposed to live in a democracy where we go to our state legislature, we go to our senators, we go to our representatives, and we say, by gosh, you got to help the farmer, or by gosh, you got to get some factories opened up here, or by gosh, the water system stinks and we need this water repaired. You, as our elected representatives, need to go and plead these cases and make laws and find money and help us out and do what the majority of our state is asking of you. Or KFC, I demand that you bring back that delicious honey barbecue chicken from the 90s. That's so good. And I could get 10,000, 100,000 people all chanting that. Release the honey barbecue cut. And see if we could get KFC to bring that back. Problem is, KFC is probably going to do some research and kind of know how many people are behind this or what the interest value is, and say, sure, let's bring this honey barbecue stuff back, which they did in the late 90s for just a short, hot instant. But apparently making that honey barbecue chicken was too expensive and there weren't enough people buying it, so it went away again. So even though there were a lot of people saying, yes, we love it, we love it, we love it, I'm not going to eat that honey barbecue chicken every single day, go out and buy honey barbecue chicken every single day to make that worth KFC's reason to continue to make that product. We've seen fan reactions before. We've seen this happen with Family Guy, where it went off the air and suddenly, there was a huge uptick, and was it Adult Swim picked it up and started to gain popularity, and the DVD sales were great, and Fox was like, well, let's bring it back. We've seen this in comics, right? Remember the Manhunter series? I think the Manhunter series is probably a bigger, not a mirror, but a bigger example of what we're looking at with this Snyder Cut. Manhunter series was canceled. There was a very vocal minority of fans that were like, we want this comic book brought back. DC, we want you to bring it back. Please bring it back. We promise you the sales will be great. And DC brought the Manhunter series back, and it sold great for the first issue, but after that, it kind of dropped off, even worse than when they canceled the series. And DC was like, no, we have to cancel this. And the fans rallied again. No, please bring back Manhunter. This is the greatest comic book ever. And they brought it back, and it just had zero sales. The assumption, and this is where the bad part of business comes in, if you try to make money. The assumption is listening to the consumer and saying, we must create art based on what the fans want, or what this large contingent of people want. Or maybe it's not even large, this small contingent of people want. Whoever's being the loudest, if we listen to them, then that's what we'll do, and that must mean we're going to make lots and lots of money. There are a couple of problems with that. The first of all, the fans can scream, yes, we want Batman comics. Yes, we want Manhunter to come back. And so, the comic book publisher says, okay, here's your new creative team. We're going to hire this writer and this this writer and this artist to go and put out a Manhunter comic for you. And the fans are like, this isn't the Manhunter we wanted. This isn't a story that we like. This isn't an artist we like. Boo. So DC cancels the comic, and then the fans are like, no, we want it back. We promise we want it, but you just need to create the comic that we want. Now, we've gone from we want Manhunter to come back because we love Manhunter the character to, no, create Manhunter stories that we want you to make. And that is where the artist no longer has control over the art. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Problem is that the protesters know what they don't want. They won't agree what it is that they want. That can be. I wouldn't say protesters. I would say passionate people. Let's use the word passionate people. We don't have to use words that have a negative connotation to them, I think, in this discussion. Because, again, there are examples of the director's cut being tremendously better than the original. And the Snyder Cut may be the best frickin' movie you have ever seen. we won't know until it comes out, and we won't know until you pay the money to watch it, because only you are going to know whether the movie is good for you or not. But you're going to have to pay that money, right? Warner Brothers knows. Smart thinking. The other problem, though, so if we make only the stuff that the fans want, this vocal group of fans, very passionate group of people, if we only do the things that they want, if we only hire the directors they want, if we only hire the cast and crew that they want, if we only write the story the way that they want it, if we only do the music the way that they wanted, etc., 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 and we've removed the creation process, we've moved the artistry from telling a story that the director is passionate about, i.e. Rian Johnson, we end up reducing the number of people who want to see that movie. We get it down into a very tight group. Remember, a lot of the people that are often very passionate about stuff, in the case of comic books, it's a small group of people. I mean, there's probably less than 300,000 true diehard comic book fans in the United States. There are millions upon millions of people who want to go see a movie in a theater. And they don't have to know every little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy. They have to just sit back there when that trailer comes on and goes, hey, look at that, a talking raccoon, and what's that tree saying? I'm Groot. Oh man, I gotta go see that. They don't know that it's based on a comic book. They see that it's based in Marvel and they're like, oh yes, okay, well then it must be comic book related. I don't care, I want to see a talking raccoon. Wisecrack for 2 hours. So by reducing the interest to a very small people, eventually you end up creating kind of like a members only club for this property, whatever it may be. And when you create a very small group and a very small group of people that will, shell out the money, yes, number one, you could up the price and you could, bleed these people for all they got, right? That's not a very good business model. Or one of these days, you're just going to look and say, hey, how come this movie, this is what the fans said they wanted. This is what all these vocal people said that they wanted. These very passionate people said we had to make the movie this way with these people, with this writer, with this director, with these stars, with this music. We did everything they said. Why did we lose money? Because you made that movie for a small group and not a large group. And that, I fear, is the biggest problem with the Snyder Cut. That's the biggest problem with Bring Back Manhunter. That is the biggest problem with, any of these things that people want. Let's see the Lord and Miller Solo movie. I put out the hashtag Lord Gimme Solo as a joke. Hashtag Ishtar wasn't so bad. Hashtag Trank Not Stank Fantastic Four. And this is why you will see Release the Butthole Cut trending on Twitter. Because people are looking at this and saying, yes, it's great that there were very passionate people about this, but let's talk about the ridiculous side of it as well. If a large group of people suddenly start getting Release the Butthole Cut trending, does that mean the studio is going to sit there and go, there's a lot of people who are suddenly interested in seeing cats' buttholes. Let's re-release that Cats movie with the buttholes visible so that we can make some money. I mean, if that really happens, then oh my God, we are really lost as a society. So as the Snyder Cut gets closer and closer to release, and as we find out more and more about what's going on with the Snyder Cut, please keep in mind that the reason the Snyder Cut is being released is, number one, it's all about money for the studio, PR, free PR for the studio. Look, I just spent almost 45 minutes talking about the Snyder Cut, free publicity for HBO Max. Number two, it's to up those HBO Max numbers. Third thing to keep in mind is, yes, you can be very passionate about whatever it is that interests you. If you are someone who is interested in seeing the Snyder Cut, and this is something that you're very excited about, then I am very happy for you. At the same time, there's probably going to be some people who are not so passionate about the Snyder Cut, who probably don't want to see it and probably don't want to hear about it. And that's okay too. Second thing is, remember when it comes to creating art, and movies should be art, even though we were talking about how movies are show business, and it's all about the money, art should be created in a vacuum. And once the artist, the creator, has finished with their song, whether it be a latest Taylor Swift song, whether it be a new rap album, whether it be, a TV show, a movie, whatever it may be, let the artist create that product and then release it out into the open. If people are suddenly like, I don't like this artist doing this crossover from this genre to this genre, I don't like that at all. Well, that's you using your voice and saying, you know what, I'm not going to buy any more of this stuff if this is what it's going to be. But if you go up to the artist and say, you can only record in this genre for the rest of your life because that's the only thing I'm interested in, then you're actually crippling art. Don't cripple art. Let it be created in that vacuum and then comment on it afterwards. And comment on it after you have seen it. So there you go. When is James Gunn's Suicide Squad coming out? Anyone know? No one knows yet. Especially now in the time of the dark days, the new dark ages, we don't know anything about that. Let's see. Let's go back. People want free money. Of course, everybody wants free money. Yes, the China movie market is very strong. And again, go and look and see what what's his face was all about this week in Washington. You're going to see China become very politicized during this election season. So please use your brains and please use your smarts and really look and see what the message is. Don't just believe everything that's being fed to you. Let's see. Malone says the Snyder Cut will be interesting in a sense of, how would one put it elegantly? How much can you polish? Well, I don't know if polish a turd. I mean, again, when Whedon came in to do the Justice League movie, he looked at it and said, well, this is not the movie that I want to make. I want to go in and I want to change huge portions of this. I want to go in and reshoot a bunch of stuff. So we are seeing an amalgam comics. We're seeing an amalgam of two directors' visions in the Snyder Cut. So, the Snyder Cut may be much better. We don't know yet. 40 is young. Okay. Quick reminder, Amazon Prime members, if you do have your Twitch subscription, click on the purple button at the top of the page. You can directly support Major Spoilers for that. I want an Automan remake, but that's not going to happen. You don't know that. Get a bunch of very passionate people behind it, and it might. I mean, we have so many different streaming networks going on right now that you might see. Who knew that She-Ra was going to come back and be as popular as it was? Who knew that the Thundercats were going to come back and be as popular as they are? Who knew that He-Man was going to come back? Now, we haven't seen that yet, but by all accounts, wow, that's going to be something amazing to check out, or so I hear. Again, PR telling you that something is going to be great is not the same as something being great. Whatever the movie is when released, good or bad, is what it is, or what else will happen. I'm not sure what you're saying, talking about there, Cidix 1210. But yes, let the artist create in their vacuum. I mean, you're going to have the studios always trying to meddle to make more money. The bean counters doing stuff. But yes, it should be their artistic vision. Problem is people really don't even know what they want. Another problem is this vocal group very rarely represent what most people want. So that gets into the idea of the vocal minority and the silent majority, which again goes back into politics. I don't think we really have time to talk about the differences between those two and how to properly do it. I have a feeling that there was a lot of bias in the decision to do this. Number one, we got to make money. How are we going to up these HBO Max numbers? But I really have a feeling that, some of this PR stuff paid off, right? All these signs release the Snyder Cut. People, doing everything they can, every chance they get to say release the Snyder Cut. And I'm sure there was some executive sitting around going, man, there sure are a lot of people wanting this Snyder Cut. Maybe we should do this without really looking into it. So that it introduces this idea of bias into your numbers. So, you could look at it from that point of view. So be very careful about those things as well. I know it's a money grab, but I'm honestly curious to see what Snyder thinks he could have done to make the movie better. well, the one J. Michael T, maybe this is your call to go and see this movie. I mean, I will admit, I watched the theatrical release of Blade Runner so many times, the tape wore out. I love that movie. The director's cut came out, and I was like, oh, this is not bad. I can see where they're changing some things. And then the director's cut came out. I watched it too, and I say, okay, of these 3 movies, here's the one that I like more than the rest. And that's your choice. And if the artist wants to go in and say, and here's a defense of George Lucas, if George Lucas wants to go in and make Greedo shoot first so that Han Solo is not as vile a character as he's portrayed in the first movie, then that's up to George Lucas to decide to do it. The fans really can't say, George, undo that. We demand that you undo that, because George is going to sit there and say, I hear you say you don't like the Greedo shot first. I'm going to add in McCulkey. Now, there are times when artists will come around and say, yeah, that was a mistake. Steven Spielberg is a perfect example of this with that director's cut of E.T. where he erased the guns in the famous bike scenes and replaced them with walkie-talkies. Outraged a lot of people, especially when E.T. was considered a brilliant piece of filmmaking. And he later changed his mind on that. He said, you know what? I really did make a mistake. I should not have done that. I feel like the first movie can be for the masses, but if it gets a part 2 or 3, it can be a bit more for the diehard fan. I'm not sure about that. I mean, look at Star Wars and then look at Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is definitely not for the fans. Empire Strikes Back was for the masses. If he goes to YouTube and Twitter, he will get some pretty good ideas for free. I know what you're talking about there. Enjoying all the great things when the most pushed favorite character who ever existed called Batman sells barely 500,000 issues. It's a sad state of business. So, here's the thing. And I know we need to wrap it up. We've gone extra long this week, which is something we don't do. Fortunately, it's summertime and the kids are home, so I don't have to go pick up children's, but I do need to cook their dinner. Here's the thing. Marvel put out the first Iron Man movie and it did better than anyone expected. And then they put out the next movie and it did it better than anyone expected. Then Disney was like, hey man, we need to get on this gravy train, man. And so Disney paid $4 billion for everything Marvel. Now, Disney didn't pay $4 billion for Iron Man. Disney didn't pay $4 billion for Iron Man and Captain America and Thor. Disney paid $4 billion for everything that Marvel put out. And that means that we got a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and a Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming our way sometime in the future. It also meant that Disney could say, hey, let's mine all this content that we have, and let's find a Luke Cage TV series that we can sell. Let's find an Iron Man, what's his name? Iron Fist movie that we can sell. Let's find an Eternals movie that we can somehow sell. Let's mine all this valuable IP, money. And there's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers. So yes, you might have something called Daredevil that may only sell 100,000 issues a month, but when it gets onto Netflix as a TV series for multiple seasons, and there's millions of people watching it, that 100,000 issues, 100,000 copies per issue doesn't look so bad, especially when that IP has made you lots and lots of money. So I wouldn't worry too much about Batman only selling 500,000 copies or 1 million copies or whatever it is. Again, those are direct market numbers. Those are not in the hands of readers' numbers. So if Batman only sells 500,000 copies, that's fine, because you know what? That Pattinson movie that's coming out, it's going to make millions upon millions of dollars. Because there's more than 500,000 people who want to go see that movie. Hey, Steven, there was a good question on Discord. Any idea what happens to the DCU service now? I don't know. My guess is that it's going to be folded in some way, shape, or form. HBO Go, they haven't made an official announcement, but HBO Go is becoming HBO Max, so your service should switch over to that when next week. Was Thundercats Roar popular? I don't know, but I know that Netflix series was incredibly popular. Great NATO was a huge fan of that series. The only reason I want to watch the Snyder Cut because I love the Justice League, not the movie, and I hope the new cut would be better. I don't have high hopes. That's okay. It may turn out to be not to your liking, and that's fine. Wait until the movie comes out and you'll watch it before you say that the movie sucks. That's all I'm going to ask. You couldn't remaster David or Mona Lisa. You could. Release the Mona Lisa Smiles cut. Someone could go in and say, hey, here's what Mona Lisa, and go look at memes. Memes are remixing. Everything is a remix. Go look up that YouTube series. It's brilliant. Everything is a remix. You can go out and make Mona Lisa smile if you want. You can go and say, well, here's what the Venus de Milo would look like with arms. Oh, gummy Venus de Milo. You could go out and remaster David. Why do you think so many people draw the fig leaf on him? That's remastering those pieces of art. So, we are now going into a long weekend. I hope you have a wonderful weekend wherever you are. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I hope you're being kind to everyone. Please don't be a dick. If there are people excited about the Snyder Cut, let them be excited about the Snyder Cut. Express your reservations, but don't poo-poo people. Don't call them toxic fans if they want to see the Snyder Cut. That's not it. They're passionate. One person's passion is another person's toxicity, as I've learned over the last couple of years. But be nice to one another. Go out there and do good and be good. Release the butthole cut, right? I know you guys got a bonus because we weren't here last week. Thank you for that, by the way. We didn't do a show last week because I just needed time off. It was the finals week last week for everybody, me, the kids, and we were just exhausted after barreling through nonstop in quarantine and doing, teach from home, homeschooling, all that crazy stuff. And my wife had off last Friday, and it was just like, hey, how about we just take the afternoon off? And we just watched Star Wars movies. We watched, what did we watch? We watched Rogue One. We watched Solo. We watched Episode 7. We're in that part of the series this weekend. We're going to watch 8 and 9. So thank you for everybody who didn't make a big deal when we didn't have a show last week. We just needed time to just decompress from everything that was going on. Literally, it feels like a year ago now that happened. But I gave you an extra half hour this week to make up for it, so there you go. Everyone have a great weekend, says J. Michael T. I agree. Take care, be safe, be well, and we will see you next time when it's finally Friday. Bye-bye. Oh man, I need to do something about that volume, eh? Just kind of punches you right in the face. Ouch. Hey, Discord people, thank you for hanging out. Oh, Scroll Brian, thank you so much. I will let everyone know what my kids think of all of Star Wars when we're done with it. Thank you, Sidix1210. You're awesome. I think this was your first time, right? Don't worry, we'll get phone calls back very soon. Hey, don't forget VIP live chat for gold members tomorrow, Saturday, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time.